Hey folks, it is Vince the Evil DM. I am back with another episode of RailGuns and Dragons, if I could say that correctly. Thank you to everyone that supported the channel and messaged and commented on all these videos that enjoy these fantasy videos for Palladium. We're moving along here yet again. If you have any questions, you can send it to questions at Ask the Evil DM. I'll read them here on the actual program. And we'll get into more stuff. I know some people had asked me to, in the recent November update video, channel update, I talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running a game and how the original version is different than the revised with the skills and education, and some of the combat is a little bit different as well. They wanted me to do a side by side comparison. I've been trying to figure out how to do that because I did have to scan in a few pages of the original one with my phone using a PDF scanner. And they're not the greatest thing, but it's the best I can do for getting those in because there is no PDF that I actually know of for that original version of the Turtles game. So it's going to take a little bit for me to get that together, but I will try to do a side by side comparison in a video, just noting some of the little bit of changes here and there because I know some people were interested and some people haven't actually seen the original book. There was a couple of them that they had revised and changed around, like Heroes Unlimited. I have that one for the original unrevised. Apparently, that combat is a lot different as well. Some of the education is different in that as well. That book is in safe storage. I don't bother touching because it's in pristine condition. But I don't think there's any PDFs of that one as well anywhere. I've never found them. But anyway, let's get on to what today's topic is going to be. And today we're going to be looking at the Druid. So the Druid and their abilities are very different than any of the priest or the clergy classes that we're going to talk about coming up. They don't rely on spell magic or spell power or anything like that. They have their own worship of nature, civilization, and the animals out there. Some of the abilities for the Druid are cool. Some of them are a little bit odd. I think that I should say back up. I should say there are a lot of people that actually go and go to the Yin-Sloth Jungles book and take the beastmaster OCC and use some of these abilities to replace a lot of the ones that the Druid have because they don't like the animal totem process, and they've some people have rewritten the animal totem process, and I think it was updated in second edition, though I'm not very familiar with second edition, so don't quote me on that. I do apologize. I'm not a second edition player too much. I'm more of a first edition player, but I know a lot of people that have substituted beastmaster abilities because they feel that's more in the line of what a druid would be like, being able to, commune with the animals, uh, heal animals, call upon animals to help them. It just looks more like a druid class than a beastmaster class, and I guess most people took this instead and used these abilities. They have animal telepathy, animal kinship, familiar link, and they have some abilities yet, but no real spell casting abilities though. So the druid doesn't have spell casting abilities either. They just have certain abilities that they can do. Let's get into the druid himself or herself or whomever. So they could be any alignment they want. Doesn't really matter. They can be cruel. They can be kind. They could be just dim-witted. I know a lot of people in many fantasy campaigns that have actually used druids as a evil villain for their campaigns. For some reason, the druid of the forest is the cause behind everything and is a perfect villain slash not villain because they're really doing what they think is right, which may not be right, but they're doing it for the good of the forest. So again, they don't have any spell casting or magical combat. They draw upon nature. They can develop a kinship with fairy folk over time, but they have to live with them in their area for a while and they get to know one another. And they kind of form this bond to the fact that the fairy folk in the area will start protecting the druid as if they're like one of the fairy folk kin. So it's kind of neat. You can establish that relationship with your character. It's kind of a backstory, maybe. Maybe your character, when he was or she was growing up, maybe they lived in an area that there was some fairy folk and your character got in good with some fairy folk. So you know some of the fairy folk lore, you know their language, you know how they operate. And when you come near fairy folk, maybe you have some type of rapport with them. I don't know, might be a neat backstory. I don't know. So when you first start, you get an animal totem, which you have to pick. And there's 5 different types of totems here to pick. And this will determine your, I guess, druidic path of how you're going to form your animal transformation later on. So you gain some abilities when you pick like a rodent, a fowl, a hooved, a feline, or a canine, and they're listed there, but they don't really increase as you go up in level like everything else does. It stays the same regardless. And this category also determines the type of animals that you will work with or transform into or call to your aid, things like that. You do have an empathetic rapport with animals. It gives you the ability to be attuned to the nature, develop this with them. They can do empathy. You can befriend them. Uses this so you can befriend them. Usually takes a certain amount of time to do that before you actually move on. So it takes about a few rounds to do it, and it's 8 melees per level of druid experience. So that's how long it'll last. And you can affect 1 to 8 animals per level of experience. And so they give an example here, like you go to a lion's den and you would want to obviously befriend the alpha. That way the alpha will let you in with the rest of the lions because he'll be like, yo, I vouch for this dude right here. Something like that. You have the ability to calm animals when you get near them. And there's this table, the next page here. Here is the befriend percentage and the calm percentage, the control percentage, which we'll get to in a second. That's the ability to, actually command or control the beast or the animal, whichever you want to call it. And it may backfire on you and then have a percentage to attack you, which is like 68%, depending on if any of the companions are there. Now, the summoning totem enables you to mentally call or summon the animals of your totem type only. And that's a general, just to summon the category. So if there were rodents, you would summon whatever rodents are in the 3-mile radius to come to your aid. You can also do a specific one and call a certain type of rodent, or say if it was rodent, for example, to come to your aid as well. And that's a lesser percentage there as well to roll on the chart. Now, every time you do this, it requires 2 full melee rounds, and you lose temporarily 1 of your PE points. That's all. Your physical endurance just drops down and for 24 hours, and because you're kind of in a weakened state because you're using this ability to summon, bring these animals towards you. And if you can keep doing it and keep dropping point after point after point. And it says here in the rules, if you reduce to a 4, then there's an 89% chance you're going to lapse into a coma for 48 hours. And then you can check those things out under the coma and tables. So now Metamorphosis, boy, this is one of the things that a lot of people don't like about the Druid class, and some people do enjoy the Druid class. So there is a percentage to roll to induce the Metamorphosis to see if you can even do it. And then if you do it, you have to roll to see if how long you actually lose your IQ and intelligence. Because when you change into the animal that you're choosing and under your path of the totem, you retain your IQ and your hit points. You get the abilities of the animal that or whatever the rodent, whatever it is that you're changing into, but you have a chance of 3 to 18 melees, or basically 3 to 18 minutes, of losing your identity, who you are. You turn into animal instinct only and will act upon that. So you have to roll to see how long that'll happen to you or how quickly you can get out of it. And here's the percentages here. Now, to note that these charts are a little bit reversed because you have to, the way you roll on these charts is that it's above the percentage here. Usually it's with Palladium, it's below, but this is above. So just see if you temporarily lose your existence, so to speak, and become that animal for 3 to 18 minutes. You have to roll on the chart the next page. And of course, there is a bigger difference between herbivore and an carnivore, excuse me. And the percentages are such. So if you're a carnivore, you have to roll above 80%, above again, to make sure you don't lose yourself for these 3 to 18 minutes. Herbivore, it's 70% or higher. Now, when you desire to go back into your humanoid form, there is a percentage chance that you might be frozen in that form for 1 to 6 weeks. And there's another chart to roll on, again, which is listed here under 3 frozen, temporary frozen here, right here, for herbivore and carnivore. And you have to roll above those. Otherwise, you get stuck in that form for 1 to 6 weeks. You can retain your IQ. However, if you are stuck in that form for a while, you may lose all of your humanity in existence. So you must roll to see if you permanently become in that animal form. So this is why a lot of people don't like it, because of this percentage. And I know a lot of people have taken these things out that I've played with because they just don't think it's fair that you can completely lose your character to this animal form, because when you're in the temporary frozen state, you can stay that way for 1 to 6 weeks, which is cool because you could still remain, yeah, you could still have your IQ and humanoid hit points and stuff like that, and you be the animal. You're stuck that way, but then there's that percentage chance that you're going to permanently be stuck that way and lose all existence, which is the 4th chart here, which you have to roll over to make sure that you permanently don't lose yourself. And if you lose yourself in that percentage, so you lose yourself at the end of the temporary frozen time, or you can lose yourself if you roll on this table 4 here. Again, herbivore and carnivore have their different percentages, so there is a difference in it, and there is a chance that you could pretty much become an animal the rest of your life with very little chance of basically having a character, which I don't think a lot of people like, so they got rid of that. But there is salvation. You can, I guess, as other players in the group, have your characters possibly cage. I hate to say it, but cage the animal. Detain the animal until you can find another druid, which can do a rapport and control and force a metamorphosis back into the mind of the animal, giving it a 28% chance. Or you can find a mind mage who can, through telepathic probing and manipulation, activate the metamorphosis back to humanoid with a 20% chance per each level of the mind mage's experience. So the higher the level, the better chance. And it can be attempted twice a day. So there is some possibilities to get the character back, and it's not a loss, but it does kind of screw you out of a character for a little while if you happen to roll these things. So it's up to you as the GM what you want to do here with this. I have a feeling that you're probably going to want to cut most of this out, because a lot of GMs I played with did cut it out, like I've said before. Again, have used most of the beastmaster abilities because they thought it was better fit for a druid type class than what we have listed there. Maybe modify it. I have to look through some of my books because I have modified this myself, cutting those things out. A lot of people don't like the druid class because it has no abilities other than changing into animals, and so people always think of the old D&D druid to have spell abilities, healing abilities, but nah. So you have a familiar link. It works exactly the same as the 4th level wizard spell, so you're going to have to go look at that. You may have it familiar at 2nd level, so you have to wait until then. Druids in combat. So you're not trained in combat, and you're not trained in any use of really any weapons. So you can basically pick up things like a stone axe, blunt wooden club, cudgel, war club, hammers, some knives, staffs, basic primitive things are you allowed. Druid do not wear any armor, and in fact list right here aversion to metal, any type of metal armor, so they want light, so cloth, padded, quilt, maybe leathers, anything that seems natural to a druid in the forest or in the jungle or something would be something they would use. and they rarely wear chain at all, so that's out too. Although a druid doesn't use magic and can't cast spells, or, you can use magical items and potions and powders, and you can read scrolls if you're literate, which many are not because you were brought up in the jungle or the forest or whatever area. So you need an IQ of 9, a PE of 12. You have a dowsing skill, identify plants, druidic abilities, which we spoke about. You get 2 additional languages at 20% bonus, 7 skills at level 1 for elective, and then you get to choose 8 at level 1 for secondary. Here is your list. It's a very small elective skill list you get. And the weapons is very small too because they're primitive. You get 1861 is the next level of druid for you, and that's when you start getting more of your abilities. So I don't know what to really say here about the druid. I've never played a druid myself, so you have to actually, as a player or a GM, sit down and think how you want to handle this class. And I think it's more of a class that's for someone that wants to try something different, because it's not your typical class. It has a risk if you leave it as is, as I guess raw, if you want to call it, leave it as raw, has a chance of losing itself inside of the animal metamorphosis phases. So it's really up to you what you want to do here. Again, you can use book 7 of the Jungle Book, and that would probably supplement this class really well. Yeah, when you look over the abilities. So that's my advice. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Have you played a druid? Have you not played a druid? How have you changed the druidic class? Do you use beastmaster stuff? Is there something else you've maybe used and maybe you want to tell us about in the comments? People here in the hobby want to know about it. Please comment below. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Also, check your subscription to this channel, because a lot of people have noted that they weren't getting any notifications for the channel when I was releasing videos last week. They noticed that they never got notification, but when they went to the homepage, my video did pop up, and they did not get anything about it. So just double check that. Make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell notification if you want videos when they come out. If not, you can use personalized or none. It's up to you. The more that have it personalized or on is better for me, of course. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. We'll go on to the next one of that, and I'm going to work on getting those turtle videos side by side, the comparison video. I got to figure that one out so it works, so it looks good. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to say keep original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody. God bless.